Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends, Wooden Railway Adventures, Episode 114, Frank and the Fib. Wilbert and Frank were talking by Knapford Station. Frank asked Wilbert, "Have you ever lied before?" "Of course not," he said. "Why would I ever do such a thing? All diesels are honest." "Are you sure? Positive about that?" Frank smiled. "I'm sure." It wasn't hard for Wilbert to see that Frank was, yes, ironically lying, so he decided to play a trick on Frank to make him never lie again. "Okay then," said Wilbert, "I see. Well, there's some trucks I have to shunt, so I best be off. Oh, and do you mind if I tell everybody that you're the most honest engine ever to ride the rails of Sodor?" "Absolutely. Go right ahead." Wilbur expected Frank to say no, but that wasn't going to stop his plan. Instead, he sped off to shunt the trucks. Meanwhile, Frank's driver started to laugh. "What's so funny?" asked Frank. "You being truthful? Ha! That's the funniest thing since—" Frank did not find any of this amusing. Instead, he started so sudden that his driver was bumped right from the cab. When Frank reversed, his driver was lying face down in the dirt. Okay, said his driver once he was finally up. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be rude. Come on, let's go to the docks and see what we can do there." When they arrived, the docks was pretty much deserted. "Well," said Frank, "it looks like we can't do anything here. Let's get out of here before—" But before Frank could finish his sentence, Murdock arrived with a heavy goods train. "Oh, Frank," he said, "glad to see you. I'm about to go up Gordon's Hill, and I was wondering if you could help me as a back engine. What do you say?" Frank wanted a day off, so he decided to lie. "Oh, Murdock," he said, "I'd love to help, but my driver has yet to arrive." "I'm sorry to hear that. Where is he?" Well, I think he's running a bit late today. He likes to watch this show on TV called Chuggington. He's a big fan, you know." Murdock was not buying Frank's story, but he didn't have time to argue. He decided to go find another engine that could help. Even though Frank was happy, his driver was not. "Frank," he said, "don't lie to other engines. If they find out, they won't trust you anymore." Frank had had enough of his driver trying to persuade him, so he once again jolted forward and his driver came tumbling out. "Ha ha," he said, "very funny, Frank. Frank! Frank!" But Frank was already halfway down the line, humming to himself. When he arrived at the airfield, all Frank wanted to do was rest, but suddenly Madge came racing up. "Frank!" cried Madge, "Stanley needs your assistance badly. He's crashed near the bottom of Gordon's Hill, and nobody's around to get Rocky or the breakdown train. Please, you have to help, or there's going to be a delay for the rest of the day." But Frank wouldn't have any of this nonsense. "Tell Stanley," he said, "that I'm very sorry, but I have to wait here for Harold to land so that he can give my driver something very important." "By the way," she said, "where is your driver?" He's inside the airfield. Yeah, he's inside there." "Okay, I see. Well, I guess I'll just have to find another engine." And Madge was off. Frank started to chuckle. "This line stuff is easy," he said. "If I keep it up, I won't have to work another day on Sodor ever again." Frank was going to refuel on diesel oil when he suddenly met Donald. "I'm so sorry to bother you," he said to Frank, "but there appears to be no more shunters in the yard. Could you please help? Somebody needs to shunt coaches for the afternoon trains." "Donald, I would love to help, but I'm on my way to the quarry. It's very urgent." "Oh, I see. Well, what do you have to do there?" I have to see Sir Topham Hatt about something urgent. Well, I've got to go. Bye." Frank was hasty to get out of this problem, but Donald wouldn't let him leave. "Okay," said Donald, "I understand. I was on my way to the quarry as well. Come on, let's go together." Frank was now in big trouble. The two of them set off. As they went down the line, Frank looked for a way that he could escape, but nothing came. Soon they arrived at the quarry. Frank looked around. Said Frank when he had been uncoupled. Well, it looks like Sir Topham Hatt isn't here. I best be going. Did somebody say my name? Said Sir Topham Hatt. Oh, Frank. Nice to see you. What can I get for you today? Frank was utterly shocked. Nothing, sir. But Frank, said Donald, you said you needed something very urgent from Sir Topham Hatt. No I don't. Not anymore, at least. Just then, Murdock arrived. Frank, he said, is that you? Murdock, nice to see you. What are you doing here? I'm still looking for a back engine. Could you help me now? Sorry, Murdock, said Donald. He needs something from Sir Topham Hatt. He's a little bit busy. But Frank told me that his driver was running late. That's why he couldn't help me in the first place. Frank was beginning to realize that his plan wasn't working. Just then, Harold landed beside him. Hi, Frank, he said. Where's your driver? Didn't he need something from me? Madge roared up next to them. Out stepped Frank's driver. Frank, he yelled. Why'd you bump me off you at the docks? I've been looking all over for you, mister. Hello, driver, said Frank nervously. What are you doing here? Madge picked me up and told me you were waiting for Harold. We followed him here, and now I'm wondering what I needed from him. Sir Topham Hatt, much like everybody else, was very confused. Hold on a second. Frank, what's going on? At last, Frank's plan was finally busted. He blurted out everything all at once. Well, Frank, said Sir Topham Hatt, I'm very disappointed in you. I can't believe you made up a fib just so you wouldn't have to work. Well, for the next week, you won't have any work to do because you'll be sitting in the shed. And help clean up this mess immediately. Now the whole island is behind schedule. I hope you've learned your lesson, Frank. And after spending a week in the shed, believe me, Frank has.